Welcome to, no, what did I say in the last one? Let's be consistent. Diogwich Karja, welcome to suas, a Kildare County Council funded programme for raising awareness about active bystanders and how we can stand up against racism within our communities and in Ireland. With me today, I have...
Tabiso Maliti.
Tell us a bit about yourself, Tabi.
I don't know what to say. I'm 19. I've been in Crooked House. I mentioned Crooked House?
If you want to.
Yeah. I've been in Crooked House 3 years. And I've been a part of this project for a little bit now. And I'm excited to do this interview.
Yeah.
I'm going to uni this year. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That was a surprise interaction from our previous guest.
Your previous guest, Abu Jinaru.
And tell us a bit about your background. So what's your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations?
I want to be an author. I love reading and I love writing. I'm working on a little novel right now for a competition, and it's in September. Let's see if I can get published in that.
Yeah.
And in uni, I'm going to study environmental science. I really enjoy biology in secondary school, so I'm excited to marry that with something that's good for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. So, where do we even begin on this massive topic?
I don't know. You have the questions.
I have the questions
I haven't seen
in front
them.
of me that you have not seen.
Yeah.
So I'll start with, do you think the Irish society is well educated on the topic of racism or discrimination?
That's a difficult question. No.
No.
But it's difficult to get into why. Because obviously Ireland has a history of being colonized for hundreds of years. Is it 800? I'm not sure. Something like that. And it's only been recently that Ireland has economically fought to become a rich country where it can stand on its own 2 feet. And even more recently, it's been even more recent that immigrants have arrived and that Irish people have had to face not being the only, I don't know how to put it, not being the only oppressed in their country.
Yes, that they now have the power in this situation.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
And so that always comes with struggles. With I don't want to say assimilation, but with being comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Being comfortable with that.
And playing a different role than what they're used to.
Yeah.
And how do you think, I think it's a unique situation we have in Ireland, both having the experience of being the fleeing to different countries many years ago, but still fresh enough in our country's history.
Yeah.
And now we have been presented with the same opportunity with countries that are now equally as struggling, if not worse.
Yeah.
And do you think we are actively recognizing our role in that, or are we burying our head in the sand?
Wow. Wow. Okay. I think a few years ago, prior to COVID, Irish people had a better view, a more empathetic view towards immigrants and refugees, because the housing crisis hadn't reached the point it has today. The prices of housing, the scarcity wasn't as it was today, and that started with poor policy and then the crisis. But now we're at a point in Irish society where it's a crossroads.
Yeah.
it's a crossroads. Will the government do what it takes to improve the lives of our people, of the citizens and people who come here, and provide the housing that we need, or will they allow immigrants to take the heat, to take the responsibility for their failures? And right now, it's looking like people are gonna force this xenophobic zeitgeist onto the country, and it's quite scary. You saw it with the riots last year. Even one man was murdered. It's crazy, and I don't know how it's gonna go, because none of the major parties have the right. They don't have the right policies to fix it. So
Yeah.
I'm scared. I really am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think, from your perspective or your lived experience, that there is an economic cost to racism?
I think there is, because, well, growing up with my mom, we lived in Newbridge. We've lived in Newbridge my whole life, and it was extremely stressful when I was growing up. The council even moved us from one of our houses because we were facing racism, and that it really had a harrowing effect on my mother, and it doesn't allow you to fully realize what you can, because you're focused on keeping your children safe, things
Yeah.
like this, and it's honestly it's terrible, and you can't fully thrive under those conditions,
No.
and nobody should be expected to. And growing up going to Irish schools, being one of few black people in my school, I felt this pressure, because I had pressure from my mom to perform academically, but there was pressure from my peers as well to break the stereotype, I guess. And it felt like a lot, and it's tough. It is.
Yeah. And in terms of the experience you've had in this country, even though you've been here your entire life, is Ireland the only country you've experienced racism in, or does it differ the places you've been?
I've never lived in another country, of course,
Yeah.
but on my travels, I have experienced a lot of racism. In Austria, especially, I did, and I I think racism in Ireland, after a certain point, because when I was growing up, it was terrible. Like
Yeah.
in school, they would just call you nigger and things like this, say your skin looked like poo and stuff, and they would make fun of Africa, the whole stereotypes of us not having water. But in the last few years, racism I've experienced hasn't been so hasn't been so aggressive and in my face.
Yeah.
But in other countries like Austria, I think it is more visible,
Yeah.
and I think it's because Ireland has, in the last, I don't know, 20 years, there's been so many immigrants from all over the world, the Philippines, Nigeria, and all of this. So in that situation, you're kind of forced to accept it, to be more accustomed than people in countries where they're not as used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in terms of the causes of racist attitudes, what do you think causes that amongst Irish people specifically?
There's a lot. For one, Irish people, they have this notion that when their experience was the same as what Black people have experienced under especially the history of Irish people in America.
Yeah.
They like to claim a lot that they were slaves too, and so that they understand what Black people across the world have went through, and so they don't have the responsibility to really listen to us.
Yeah.
That's one, and another is I I don't know. I don't know.
And do you think it's down to households?
It is down to households. Like racism, it starts from society, and the way our society is set up, families are your first point of learning.
Yeah.
And if your parents have racist attitudes, they're gonna pass it down to their children, and then those children they go into school, they become teachers and things like that, and they keep these attitudes. And rarely do people who are the majority in their country have to be reckoned with the consequences
Yeah.
of othering people, Black people, Asian people, or even Irish travelers who
Yeah.
go through terrible things. And it's this complacency, this comfortability. Like, why would you think about something that doesn't really affect you? That's just normal to you.
Yeah.
And a lot of people they get like defensive when it's brought up because they don't think they should have the responsibility. Yeah.
100%. And when you were in school, specifically secondary schools, with the education we have now, how was the issue of racism tackled within the school you attended? Or was it at all?
I don't think it was really tackled. And anytime I would face any discrimination, I didn't really feel like I could go and report it to anybody because what would happen was my thinking. What would be the point? I didn't want to have to face the social repercussions,
Yeah.
maybe being outed or ousted from my friend groups. So I would take a lot of it, or I would try to deal with it, by myself. And they they never took the initiative to educate about racism.
Yeah.
It felt like there would have to be an incident where somebody would bring it up or some reason. Like we never had an assembly or classes specifically talking about racism or anything. And I hope that's changed since I've left. But it goes back to the thing. People don't think about things until they have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a privilege of not being aware of what that experience is.
Yeah.
And why do you think that people, whether it's within a friend group, whether it's in a classroom, in a workplace, hesitate to intervene or feel they don't have to intervene?
Well, they might not think that there's an issue because the vast majority of people think similarly if they come from a similar background.
Yeah.
So they might not see an issue with it, or if they do see one, there might be a fear in also being ousted, like, or being outed, or having a repercussion to their social status,
Yeah.
or if they just don't know how to respond either, because there was never any education on
Yeah.
being an active bystander or being a good friend to people different than you.
And what role do you think an education or workplace training, if they exist or should exist, would play in reducing the bystander effect?
But for improving the bystander effect, you have to confront the issues, and you have to tell people what you're doing is not okay. What you would do in this situation has to change. Like there has to be a direct conversation. You can't expect people to learn things without being taught. You can't
Yeah.
have that expectation. So there has to be initiatives, programs for these things in workplaces and schools from the get-go, from the jump. It should be included in trainings in any workplace, because anybody from anywhere could work somewhere, and nobody should have to have the horror of feeling excluded or outed just because of the way they are.
And do you think you carry a responsibility, or feel like that responsibility of educating has been put onto your shoulders?
I do have a responsibility, because as a black man, I have a responsibility to stand up for myself.
Of course,
And
yeah.
to stand up for people like me, because even if we can talk about, oh, you look out for yourself and things like that, as humans, we have a responsibility to the people around us, and especially as a black person in a country where I'm a minority, it's an extra responsibility to look out, even if you don't know, you don't know somebody who's facing discrimination or something.
Yeah.
You have to step in, because we can't count on white people to know what they're doing is wrong. We can't count on them to fix issues they don't even see.
And is there, when it comes to the two separate groups, from my perspective, of people who are unaware that certain microaggressions are seen as racism and discrimination, and people who just feel they're not the ones to have to call it out, they're not the ones with the problem, they're not the ones who are doing it.
Yeah.
Those two groups, that there should be a level of self-education, so that specifically for the latter group, that not everything should primarily lay on the minorities group's shoulders to educate an entire group of people. Do you think that there should be a level of self-reflection and self-education on topics that include racism and discrimination?
Yeah, because you can't change a habit that you don't reflect on. You have to think about your actions and how they might affect people deeply. So everybody has the responsibility, but for white people, they might not be confronted with the fact that they have to change these habits, or stop these microaggressions, like touching hair, things like that. And so as a black person, I have the responsibility to say no, to stand up for myself and educate as well. And it's a weight, it's a pressure that I don't wish on anybody.
Yeah.
But it's the way life is. You just have to reckon with the fact that you live in this society, and you must navigate through this society with purpose, you know? Yeah.
And what would you say is the greatest threat of racists what would you say is the greatest threat that racist acts, both overt and microaggressions, would have on young people in general, but also minority young people?
For young people in general, it's a lack of empathy. Because if you don't reckon with the fact that you are a racist, that racism, it sticks in your mind, and it doesn't allow you to really see black people or the minorities as humans just like you are.
Yeah.
And when you get to that, it seeps into everything. It seeps into the society, into policies that the government enacts, and into people just being complacent. Like, they just think, oh, this is the way it is, and we don't need to change. And furthermore, for people like me, for black people, it's just hard. Like, it's taxing on the mind, and it can lead to depression and a lot of things if there's a feeling that nothing's being done.
Yeah.
And that's a big contributor to poor mental health for people like me. So yeah.
100%. And I'll ask you, and you have every right to diverge the question
Yeah.
or not want to answer, but as yourself existing in Newbridge and in the spaces you have growing up here, have you experienced any direct acts, both micro and overt? And in those situations, did anyone stand up for you? How did it make you feel if they did or did not? And how did that affect you in the long run?
Well, there's been a few occasions. Well, growing up, it was every day. It was every day that I was like attacked. Not and when I say attack, I don't mean like it doesn't have to be physical,
Of course.
but just an aggression, calling me a nigger. That's an attack against me, or making fun of where I come from. It's an attack against me, and because especially in primary school, everybody just went with it. Nobody saw any issue, even other black people, because we were kids,
Yeah.
and we hadn't had the education. Nobody really stood up for anything, and then to now, I've been called shit on the street, and people have said in friend groups have said nigga to me who are white, and the people around me, even to this day, they didn't step in and say anything, and for me it feels like a betrayal,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking, are we not friends? Do you not see that there's an issue here? But that's also why I've 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 come to the realization that I have a big responsibility to fight for myself and to fight for black people, because they're not going to do it, and I shouldn't expect white people to, because you can't really trust, you can't trust them to have
Yeah.
the foresight.
And is it a matter of, can we not expect white people to? I say as a white person.
Yeah.
We can expect, or can you not rely?
You can't rely. You should. When it comes to my friends now, I feel like I've come to a place where I can expect them to fight for me now. It's only been in the last few months, really, or
Yeah.
weeks. But when it comes to the general public, I don't know. I don't know who this person on the street could be,
Yeah.
or anybody, and I don't know what experiences they would have with being an active bystander. So I can't expect anything from them, and I won't, because time and time again I've been shown that they don't care. And I mean, it's sad, but man, it is what it is.
And in terms of the active bystander, for you, ideally, how would that look?
But just stepping in, like, well, firstly, you have to believe that there is an issue. You
Yeah.
have to know, you have to be educated on racism. That's the first thing. And if you have that intellectual basis, the understanding of racism, why wouldn't you say anything? There has to be, there has to, there has to be, I don't know how to word this, but people just have to have the urge.
Yeah.
They have to have the reflex, the instinct to want to be a good person. And
100%.
but as I said, I can't expect that, but I want that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And have you noticed over the last kind of how many ever years, you mentioned before that you've seen pre-COVID, there wasn't this spike in racism propaganda and attitude within Ireland. Do you think that COVID played a factor in that?
I think it did, because post-COVID, conspiracy theories became the norm. They became the mainstream. And it a lot of it came from America, because the US it's the zeitgeist right now. They have the dominant culture, especially in Anglo spheres,
Yes.
which Ireland is in. And during COVID, conspiracies about the government not about making COVID up and things like that,
Yeah.
it made people distrust whatever position of authority was telling them. So if somebody's telling you that racism is bad or this or that, you start thinking it's all this one conspiracy that they're trying to take away your freedom or things like that, that they're trying to change what has always been. Because
Yeah.
COVID was a big shift for everybody, and it made people scared, and it made people retreat back and wish to live how they had before. And the way society was before was it was more subtly racist, and people
Yeah.
didn't speak out about it as much as they do now, and it feels like an attack to them because everything has been so uncertain since COVID.
And for me and my awareness of how bad the situation actually was had spiked through COVID, as we had the more mainstream view with the rise of the BLM movement in America and all over the world, and with the tragic death of George Floyd and everything like that. Do you think that that still has an effect now, that more people are aware of it? Or has it led to this idea of conspiracy theories, and that it's led to more anti-groups forming
Yeah,
to combat that in the mainstream?
I think, yeah, because even when you walk down where McDonald's is, you walk down that street, you see people with the yellow signs,
Yes.
with the xenophobic slogans, with the conspiracy theories, and you wouldn't have seen that pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It's still a hangover in the effect, and there hasn't been a societal push to really tell these guys, yo, what are you doing? There hasn't been enough pushback to the rise of the right wing. And as I said earlier, it was scary. I was
Yeah.
about to swear, but it's really scary.
You can swear if you wish, that's no problem. I'm all for expression.
Yeah.
As well then, with when it comes to social media and the role that it plays within how we shape young people's minds and everything like that, how has been your experience seeing what we now call as performative activism? That we obviously had this rise of BLM during COVID, and this led to the idea of someone's activism purely existing through Instagram or existing through their social media for an image. And how does that make you feel, seeing maybe some of your friends post fighting against the racist beliefs that are being portrayed and not being able to defend you or not willing to defend you in private spaces? Or have you experienced anything like that?
But the BLM thing was a while ago. But yeah, it was everybody posting, the black squares and
Yeah.
that. Everybody and anybody. And they could have said like terrible things to you
Yeah.
in the past. But I don't know. I like to be hopeful that people can change.
Yes.
So I like to think that after the BLM, the black square trend, people really did start thinking. But you have to know that it's not enough that posting these stories on your Instagram. It's not really gonna do anything. What you really need to do is sit with yourself, reflect on what you have done, what you could have done better, or what you will do better. And that's where it starts. And then after that, it furthers into stopping your friends, into like removing racist jokes from your circle
Yeah.
and things like this. And especially, it's a big issue when it comes to slurs against travelers,
Yes.
the K1, things like that. It's still so normalized, and you see people who would, because there are a lot of people who will speak out
Yeah.
when they see racism against black people or Asians or things like this. But then when it comes to travelers, it's open season.
Yeah.
And that's a contradiction. And contradictions are very dangerous
Yeah.
because it it removes like the innateness, because how can you feel something to your core but you don't really apply it to everything? You have to think about the way you move through society with the same lens. And yeah.
And then as well with what we're seeing at the moment in terms of Palestine and the occupation and the genocide that is occurring there, do you feel there is a sense of hypocrisy taking place within their own government, that they seem to be piggybacking off the movements that have spawned within communities, anything like that, and taking credit for the Irish people being so active? And then we have the likes of the situation with the GAA Palestine being denied visas.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is a complicity from the Irish government in terms of this?
Like they a lot of them didn't want to push through the occupied territories bill. It was because there was a lot of people, and it's not everybody in Irish society.
Yeah, of
because I know there's this notion that as a people, Irish people understand the apartheid that Palestine is going through, and they do to a certain extent, but there's still a lot of Islamophobia, a lot of miseducation that I hear around the issue. And before the eruption in 2023, where the genocide ramped up, it wasn't really popular to speak out against it. So yeah, but the government, they've definitely taken credit for what they haven't done, which is a big issue, because they didn't want to do any of this. They were pushed to by the people, which is beautiful to see.
Yes.
And I love that a lot of Irish people are so pro Palestine, so anti-genocide, and because as the world is a network.
Yeah.
As a former colony, as a victim of British occupation and colonization, slavery, rape of the nation, you have to stand with your peers in Palestine and South Africa and all of this. And it also ties back to the racism thing, where I'm gonna leave that thought out.
That's
out.
okay.
Yeah.
No problem. I'm in charge of the edit. So and then in terms of, did I ask you about I don't know if I've repeated questions, I'm getting deja vu. Have you noticed any ways that racism has been normalized in everyday speech or conversation?
Yeah, well, a big one is slurs against travelers.
Yeah.
It's a part of the everyday vocabulary, which is awful.
Yeah.
And there's a tension between Irish travelers and everybody else.
Yeah.
Because there's this notion, there's this, like, the way they're seen, the stereotypes that they carry are horrible and awful. And if you see someone as inherently bad or this way because of who they are, you don't see them as human. You see them as this stereotype, as this box. Because when somebody defies the what's the word, the stereotypes that you have for them, if you have these stereotypes, you don't think, oh, okay, maybe my stereotypes are wrong. You think this one is an exception.
Yeah.
And it's violent. It's violent, and it leads to the awful way that they're treated, and it's not. I don't know. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It's not nice. That's the best way I can put it.
I could talk all day, man. Genuinely, I'm trying to think of. There's one of the questions I have here. and I don't know the context in which one of our other members of this group put this into the anchor questions, but I'm going to read it, and whatever you take from it,
Okay.
you take from that, and you give me your answer.
Okay.
In your opinion or experience, what leads us out of the trap?
What leads us out of the trap? That's the whole question.
That's the whole question.
What leads us out of the trap? Okay. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot because I'm assuming the trap is racism, of course, and if you wanna get out of the trap, first of all, I say as a black person, for
Yep.
myself and for my people, we have to stand up for ourselves, as I've been saying. Like,
Yeah.
we have to advocate for ourselves, because people who have this privilege, who have the power, they'll never be the ones to begin
Yeah.
a change. It has to be the people who are affected by it, and that's the first thing. And then second, the general public has to they have to take accountability for the way society is, and listen to people like me, people who are saying the experiences and don't have the instinctive reaction to think like you're being attacked, because you're not. We just want to feel like human beings. We want to feel like fully formed human beings, and not that because we're a different way, you have to treat us a different way. We just want to be ourselves, to carry our culture with the pride that it deserves. And yeah.
Yeah. And if you were to look back at Bambino Tabby and give him some advice,
Who's that?
baby Tabiso. Italian, went to Italy, my ass. If you were to look back at your younger self, and that's not making it in the edit. If you were to look back and miraculously be able to communicate with your younger self, what would be the thing you'd say to him?
I would say these people are stupid. Like, don't listen to what they should say, because it's coming from a place of ignorance.
Yeah.
And hate. You should never take someone's hate and ignorance into your heart. So just don't. And then I would say, to everything else, keep doing you.
Yeah.
Cause and just be unapologetically yourself, your South African beautiful self. That's it.
And if you were to give one piece of advice back to our audience,
Yeah.
of one thing that they can do to start their discovery into how they become an active bystander, what would that look like? What would that be for you?
That would be, I don't know, get a diary. You don't have to write, or just think in your head or write it down, of times where you could have been an active bystander and you weren't. And then think, why weren't you an active bystander? And what fears led you to be silent? And then maybe try and put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's receiving the racist attack. What would you want you to do if you were looking in as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
That's it.
Thank you so much, Tabiso.
No problem.
Amazing. And
Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
How did that feel?
That felt nice.
Yeah?
Felt good.
Good?
Yeah.
Amazing.